Hi. Like Randy, I am not a BSU grad, but we try to convince people when we get away with it that we actually are. And I'm hoping on one of our trips to Las Vegas, I can convince him to get a BSU logo tattoo with me. But if we do, I'm sure I won't ever be able to confide in you all where that actually lands. So I'd just like to say to all my students out there, all my lovely babies, which I know you hate that I call you that, but I always will, Bonnie. Remember, if you heckled me tonight, tomorrow is your turn, so pay back. The question that was asked of me is, what inspires me as a creative and as a designer? And in order to answer that question for you, I have to actually put myself into context a little bit for you. So at home, I paint. I'm an artist. I have chickens. I paint chickens. I don't have a reason for it other than it amuses me. It entertains me. It is my version of art, and the only purpose for it is that I find it enjoyable. And for me, that's the only reason it needs to exist. It's for no other reason. At work, my day job, I am a designer. I'm a problem solver. I solve clients' very specific problems. It has absolutely nothing to do with me at all. It's all about the right questions that I can ask them to get to the right answers and solutions for them. So art and design to me are two very, very specifically different things. So as a designer, what inspires me? And the answer to this actually, I think, I assume would surprise people. It very often has very little to do with actual design. It's more about, for me, creative thinking. And that could be from any sort of discipline. Anytime I see something that was a very creative thought process or solution, it very much tickles me. So specifically with creative thinking, it's problem solving through creative thinking, asking very specific questions. I think people sort of lose that in the shuffle of things. They're so worried about coming up with the answer, they forget to ask all the questions to get to that answer. So the who, the why, and the what if. I think what if is extremely, extremely important. Find the simplest answer to a very complex problem. And most importantly, which is very powerful, is compelling action and behavioral change in people. It's one of the hardest things to do. So to me, what if? I love hearing what if. I love hearing what if in a conversation with a client who knows nothing about design. I love hearing what if when we're having brainstorming sessions with designers at work. What if is a fearless question. And people tend to talk themselves out of that. They're like, well, I don't want to be the one to say this. This might sound stupid. I don't care all day long. Say what if. It is the most fearless question. The thing that fights people the most, I think, as I've learned, is people talk themselves out of things all the time. I can't do this, we can't do that, I don't want to say this, I don't want people to know I think this. Forget all that, be fearless, just ask what if. That's how the greatest things in the world happen. So I have two examples for you of things that actually inspire me, and they have nothing really to do with design, or very little I should say, and it's all about the creative thinking behind it. So the first one is a story about a little bit of luck. So in Cambodia and Thailand, which I've never been to, there is a health epidemic. People have very, very severe anemia, to the point where 6 million people, to half of the population, suffer from this. Anemia causes, I mean, for us here in the United States, you can be anemic, a little bit of a problem. You can solve it relatively easily. You can eat more red meat. There's iron in our salt. It's not as much of a problem as for the rural areas of these countries. It causes weakness, impaired cognitive ability, premature labor, hemorrhaging during childbirth, death, and GDP, the gross domestic product loss is very severe for the overall country's economy. So it's a widespread problem. So this is in 2012. This is not a long time ago. This is not 1942. This is not the year 1800. This is in 2012, a fourth-year student, Gavin Armstrong, asked a very simple question. He asked, well, what if? Because he thought this was absurd in this day and age, even in a rural area of a country, there'd be such a severe health problem, such a simple sort of health issue as anemia. So with a bunch of research and development, because the people in these countries, they don't eat as much red meat, even cooking their food, their soups and their vegetables in like an iron pot would leach out enough iron into their diet to help them. Iron pots are too expensive. They had done some research and they figured, what is something we can do within the general area that's sort of a self-contained thing? So they found there's a proper type of iron. They figured out how to recycle it in the area, give the jobs to the people in that particular community. So it was very self-sustaining. Everything made sense. It was a brilliant idea. And all they had to do was take this simple iron disc, and they would tell the people in the community, if you would just put this in your pot and cook it with your food for like 10 minutes, with a little bit of lemon juice even will help, it will actually give you enough iron to sustain your health and help you. So it seemed like a brilliant, brilliant answer. It was simple, it was affordable, anyone could use it, and it was very easy. But it failed. And the reason why it failed is that they hadn't really considered who their audience was and the specific culture to compel the behavioral change. They had failed to really ask who and why specifically. And like all designers and creative thinkers, it was revision time, because it was a great idea, but they just had to figure something out. There was something missing in that chain. So they had to say, well, what if? What if we did something different? And this is Cambodia and Thailand. And in Cambodia and Thailand, very culture-wise, a fish is a symbol of good luck. So they said, you know what? Instead of a little disc, which someone can't understand, even if you tell me why I should cook it in this pot, we'll make it in the shape of a fish, and it will be a good luck fish, the lucky iron fish. And very easily the community could say, oh, I understand this. And they started cooking with it. And sure enough, after 9 months, there was a 50% decrease in the clinical iron deficiency of anemia in the country. And all because they really thought about the way that specific audience would process the information. And not only was it symbolic of luck, but it truly was lucky because it actually improved their health. So what if? Again, this is a very, very important, powerful word. It's two little words that we think about, we say all the time. And then my second story is about a Maxi pad. So Elizabeth Scharf, Harvard Business School and Kennedy School of Government, she was interning for the World Bank in Mozambique in 2005. Okay, 2005. Again, not 1930 something, 2005. Like, this blows my mind. She's at basically think of her as a business major. She's at a factory, and a small sewing factory, another rural type area, and she asked the owner how the owner could improve her efficiency. Thinking like a business person, she's thinking the woman's going to say, oh, more streamlined manufacturing processes or better internal cost control, things like that. But the owner said that one of the biggest challenges is that female employees miss work while they're menstruating, about 24 days a year per employee. Now, I'm the biggest tomboy in the world. I know I don't look at her at this second, but this freaked me out, okay? Because that meant that me, half of this room, if I was living over there, 50% of the population, you're losing 50 days per year of work, wages, school, education, lost, completely gone. This is 2012. This is 2000. This is now. This isn't back in the day. That's 5 years over a lifetime, completely gone. So imagine your whole college education. It wouldn't have even happened. Your high school, that's 4 years, it wouldn't have happened. Or even more importantly, if you're a female, you wouldn't probably have even finished high school because you would have already lost so many days of school. You would have fallen so far behind, it wouldn't have been possible for you to continue on. And then the females that do try to push through this and have some dignity, of course, throughout the whole thing, they'll try with using leaves, bark, grass. And of course, the whole subject in itself is a taboo subject. So now they don't know the health sort of severe risks of that and what the infection and all the other problems that come along with that when they're trying to solve it this way. It's a very frustrating situation. And although there are Maxi pads available, they're not available everywhere. And they cost about a day's wage for one. All of these countries that you see in red have these problems in their rural areas, like right now. This is personal injustice for these women, health issues, compromised dignity, GDP loss, $250 per woman every year. That's a total of over $115 million just in Rwanda alone. That's bottom line, is it's bad business for that country, for that community, for that government. Scharf, she figured this out. She said, well, what if? There's got to be some way to answer this. This is ridiculous. She founded She and said, what if she had met some women, she had met some people from China who were using banana fibers to turn into linen to make into clothing. She said, well, that's similar. We could maybe use that for the internal structure of a Maxi pad. So the banana farmers, when they were disposing of this perfectly clean natural fiber, they would take that, a natural resource to the area, again, a lot like the luck ironfish, natural resource from the area. A woman would get a very small loan, hires women in her community, receives the banana fibers, start manufacturing pads, and sells to women in her community. So now it's this whole little full circle, all right there in those little pockets. Strengthens her community, both socially and economically, and eliminates problems for future generations. It's a non-issue. For me, it's a non-issue. For these women now, it is a non-issue. They can concentrate on work, wages, family. This little girl, she said that one of her most important things, they had interviewed a bunch of students. One girl was talking about her watch. Makes her feel confident. She can get everything on time. For her, she said, menstrual pad makes me feel comfortable. She can continue her activities. At the end of the day, that's all she wants to do is get an education so she can grow up, so she can contribute, so she can have a family, so she can make money. So the two most powerful creative problem-solving words to me in business, in creative thinking, and when behavioral change, when they all collide, are what if. Never be afraid to say what if. And don't just say it in your head. Say it out loud. Oops. So this is what inspires me in any situation. It doesn't necessarily have to be about something straight up design, something that I would design as an exhibit designer. And I wish you all a whole bucket of luckfish.